Take This Waltz, celebrating the music of Leonard Cohen. It's coming to the Port Theatre here in Nanaimo on Wednesday, October 29th, with follow-up dates November 1st in Mission, November 15th and 16th in Vancouver at the Chutzpah Fest, and November 19th on Salt Spring Island. And I'm joined today by director, stager, choreographer, Idan Cohen. Hi and welcome.
Hello, so nice to see you, Shirley.
Thank you. It's exciting to be able to talk to you about Take This Waltz, celebrating the music of Leonard Cohen. It was proposed to you by the rising star. He's a bona fide star, bass baritone Daniel Okulich, described as flat out brilliant. You're also joined by dancer musician Ted Littlemore and a classical chamber ensemble of cello, violin, and accordion for the performance. Why don't we start with your origin story? Growing up on the kibbutz in Israel, was there a lot of exposure to opera and dance on the kibbutz?
That's a great question. Let's take it even further back because my grandmother, who's a Holocaust survivor who escaped from Vienna when she was only 12 years old.
Wow.
And the interesting thing about that is that, my grandma was raised on classical culture and classical music
Okay.
back there in Vienna. And one thing that I've learned now after, this is my ninth year here in Canada, is that the one thing that you always carry with you when you move to a new place, either if you're forced to move or if you choose to move,
Mhm.
you take your culture with you
Yeah.
and you share your culture definitely with your family members, but also with your community and with your world. So I think the love of opera and classical music really came from my grandmother. I used to be a pianist player as a child, and I would always play to my grandmother. And it was a very special bond that we had through the music. So I think that even if the kibbutz didn't necessarily encourage, you know, that I mean, we were more raised in working the land and working in farms and agriculture and stuff like that. It's definitely something that's in my blood and in my bones and definitely in my heart.
Oh, that's heartwarming. And where did you study classical piano?
I studied at the kibbutz. I had a teacher that I loved very much. She was a Russian immigrant to Israel. I loved it, and I was actually quite good. I would play in concerts as one of those child prodigy
Yeah.
stories. But I stopped playing when I was 14. I moved into an art school and I actually chose to study theater and fine arts. And that
Ah,
was even before I started my career as a dancer. So, that also kind of ties us into the world of opera because opera really is all these arts coming together.
yeah.
That's the historic vision and idea that gave birth to opera as a genre.
Well, I was struck by your vision statement on your Naissance Opera and Dance website that says Naissance Opera and Dance, a home for the research creation of work that seeks to deepen and reconnect opera and dance. That word with the prefix reconnect, that's what struck me because would you say that the two art forms were more synergistic in the past than they have become?
Absolutely. The idea of opera was to create a real inclusive
Yeah.
theatrical work that has, the text or what we call in the opera world the libretto, the music, the visual arts, so costumes and sets, and absolutely dance. And what we see through the ages is how, when we moved into bigger theaters, bigger spaces, bigger orchestration, you see how the body becomes smaller and smaller. Under these huge gowns and beautiful sets, the body and that huge voice becomes tiny. And for me, one of the most rewarding and touching aspects of experiencing live theater is that you get to see bodies of all ages, of all ethnicities, um, of all shapes. And that is what I'm hoping to bring back into my personal operatic practice and creation.
And you're doing that, of course, through Nissan's opera and dance. And you offer classes and other ways for people to find their way to opera and dance there in Vancouver. So you said you've been here about 9 years. And when you first arrived in Vancouver, did you meet artist and musician Ted Littlemore immediately and start collaborating with him immediately?
That's such a heartwarming question that I love answering because one of the first opportunities that I got here in Vancouver was actually to teach a dance class in um, a program that is called Modus Operandi that Ted was one of the students in. And our first connection was actually through the fact that Ted shared with me the fact that he is both a musician, a trained musician. He went to McGill. He's also a pianist, he's a chorister, and a drag queen. So I moved here in 2016, at the end of 2016, and that was the year that Ted actually won the best drag queen in Vancouver. So it was really in his daily practice. And I just loved that because I'm always looking for these kind of, multifaceted artists to collaborate with. And it's such a great working relationship and friendship now
Yeah.
between Ted and I that I appreciate tremendously. Really.
And what does Ted bring to the production of Take This Waltz, celebrating the music of Leonard Cohen?
I mean, in the creative process, both Ted and Daniel were so instrumental because it's really, when you have the opportunity for a production to be created with you and on you as a performer, as an artist in the room, it always creates a certain magic that is both connected to the performer's talents, but also to their personalities. And Ted and Dan are such generous collaborators that I feel that it's their work as much as it is mine.
And and Daniel, he's the one that actually pitched this idea, I guess, because he had previously done a show featuring the songs of Leonard Cohen for Pacific Opera in Victoria and also for Vancouver Opera, correct?
That is correct. He did it in Victoria. I believe it was supported by Vancouver Opera, but it was a concert of singer-songwriters in general. So they only had a couple of songs by Leonard Cohen.
Right.
And
Oh,
when Dan reached out to me and asked if I'll be interested in taking the project on, I considered it. And eventually I told him that I have a vision through his voice and through the beautiful orchestration that was created by Adrian Dolan. I had a vision of really creating this around the music of Leonard Cohen. I've been loving the music of Leonard Cohen since I was a child. My dad is a huge fan, and it's so it felt to me like a stronger pitch or a stronger theatrical idea to really focus the work on the legacy and music of Leonard Cohen.
oh, such a towering figure. Tower of Song. I love that documentary and I love Leonard Cohen. So this is right up in my wheelhouse. So how did you approach the actual creative process of putting Take This Waltz together? Did you and Daniel and Ted all work together on every aspect of each song and the dance and the song? And tell me how that all, the process happened.
I was working at the time with Amir Ofek, who's a beautiful set designer who's based in Vancouver. And when I gathered the list of songs that were pretty much curated before I got into the project. I've added a few songs. I really wanted the show to start with Everybody Knows. So
Yeah.
that was a part of my, additions to the music. But I think the first challenge was really how do you take a collection of songs and create something that is more than a concert or more than a contemporary dance piece, but that has a certain narrative
Mhm.
that wouldn't, it's not about the life of Leonard Cohen. It's not a tribute act. We really created a character that in many ways is connected to the legacy of Leonard Cohen, but it's also just a simple person that we can all connect to.
Mhm.
So it's almost like there's a cycle, a life cycle that happens within the piece. I don't want to say too much so
Yeah.
that I won't spoil the surprise. But I think that that was really the first challenge. How do we create us almost like a story that would do justice to the music of Cohen? And that was even before we met in the studio or
Mhm.
before we entered the theater. Then, usually, what I do is I would share that inspiration or those ideas that I've refined in my mind.
Right.
And then I would be very open to the interpretations of the performers or the collaborators to their characters in the work.
Well, and Cohen being such a brilliant lyricist, uh, all those stories in all those songs, it's such a rich, ripe environment for expression on the stage. I presume there's lots to choose from, lots to mine.
It's a huge gift, just being immersed in the world of Leonard Cohen and in those texts and in that music for months.
Yeah.
Just it's an awesome adventure.
Have you heard from any member of his family about this production? Have they weighed in on what they think of it?
His cousin was present in our premiere and really loved it, which was, incredible. We haven't heard from his son. We've been really, we've been dealing and working with the record companies, but I don't know how personal their relationship is with Leonard Cohen and his legacy. But at the same time, someone like Leonard Cohen, who's been such a significant part of the soundtrack of each of our lives. I always feel that, you and any other member of the audience, it's for you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, the phrasing and the lyrics leave so much open to interpretation that each audience member is bound to take away a personal story in one or more of the songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Daniel Akulich, oh my goodness, his star is on the rise as a bass baritone singer. So what does he bring to this production that is unique?
It's funny because at the beginning, with Dan's reputation, like Dan has been working really in the best opera houses in the world. His career is really, he's
Mhm.
out there all over the place. And I was a little intimidated at the beginning. It's scary sometimes,
Yeah,
but he is such a lovely, modest, intelligent individual. Um, that it was such a fun experience working with Dan, and I'm so proud to have my name attached to a production that he's starring in.
well, audiences. Oh, tell me about the orchestra. Tell me about the orchestra because I believe you've worked with some of the players in previous productions.
I mean, it's changing a bit from one concert to the
Oh,
other. Yeah. But we have really, we always curate the best musicians for this production because there's a lot of responsibility on them. There's no conductor in the work. So they really need to be intimately immersed in the production. So I think it's a fabulous opportunity for all of us to be working together.
Right. And it's cello, violin, and accordion, right?
Yeah. And
Wow.
Ted also plays the accordion in the production. So he's
Yes.
an addition. So we actually have two accordions there.
Well, and I remember seeing he's playing the accordion at the same time he's dancing.
That is true. He is so talented.
Oh
It's
my. Well,
beautiful.
I took accordion lessons when I was a kid, and I'll tell you, that is not easy to do.
No, no, definitely isn't. Definitely isn't. But he's brilliant.
Wow. Well, we've got some audiences in for a real treat with Take This Waltz, celebrating the music of Leonard Cohen. And once it's over, what's going to be next for Eden Cohen?
A lot, actually. Um, I'm now working on a beautiful project with City Opera Vancouver that is actually dedicated to songs from both Jewish and Palestinian Arabic composers,
Oh, that's
uh, which is it's very dear to my heart, the mission and the cause. And it's with Gordon Gerard, who's the music director of City Opera, on the piano, and two beautiful, beautiful opera singers, Jacqueline Grossman and Miriam Khalil. And after that, I am creating with Early Music Vancouver a concert based on Johann Sebastian Bach's solo cello suites, which
oh,
is truly one of the, most beautiful and appreciated and loved creations of all time. And that's happening here with the Dance Center in Vancouver in August of,
of
11 months from
26.
now, 10 months from now. It's coming.
Well, you will obviously have a busy few months in front of you.
Absolutely.
Well, Eden Cohen, I'll tell you, we are so excited about Take This Waltz, celebrating the music of Leonard Cohen, coming to the Port Theatre Wednesday, October 29th, the Clark Theatre in Mission, November 1st, November 16th and 17th at Vancouver's Hutzpah Festival. And one more, which one am I missing? November 19th, Salt Spring Island at Arts Fest.
Exactly.
So I'll super those up over our video here as well, so people know where to get tickets. nissansopera.net or theporttheater.com. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Eden. It's been a real pleasure to
Thank
meet you and talk with you.
you. Thank you so much, Shirley. It was really wonderful speaking to you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Stay in touch.